6, 7 years ago, and they.
But I think by the time we meet next week, and then another meeting after that, that gives us time to look at everything that you may want to put in there, you may want to put on there, and then we adopt as a board. Oh, I mean, that was my only goal. Put a lot of work in, let's
And
Aye.
if
Pause
I
and
may,
refresh.
just as a point of information, if we're going to be looking at this again in the future, that we also do make sure that the board president does hold board members accountable, so that there is an enforcement authority. And that's just a point of information.
Well, I'm
something
just going to
that we
interrupt you
can-
on that point. My concern is that I shouldn't be the enforcer, the board should be the enforcer. So if I'm out of line, the rest of the board should address that. And I hope that there's some way that we build that in a mechanism that the board holds each of us accountable.
And I think that we agree there should be some enforcement authority, so I agree with that.
Joan?
I do think even as I read through what I'm presuming is a resolution that would come with this, that it actually says individual members of the Board of Education shall address behaviors that are not in alignment with the governance standards. And I think about this all the time. We used to have a document that came as the first page on every single board packet. We had it in front of us all the time as a reminder so that we could hold ourselves accountable. We have to hold ourselves personally accountable. We have to hold one another accountable. We are one board. And so I really am glad that we're having the conversation, that we hit the pause button. I think we all want the same thing. So really appreciate having this conversation.
I would also recommend, if I can, that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you had said we would discuss it more at the study session, and I don't think that's going to be here. I think it's going to be at Crary. I don't think it's televised, and I would personally say, why not have this conversation at a regular board meeting and let, just like Ms. Sutherland said, we should hold all of us accountable. All of us should as a board, but the people on this community should hold us accountable as well, and allow them to hear the input and allow them to hear what we're talking about, because ultimately we serve them. We work for this community. And so
My plan is to.
I'm speaking, let me finish. My feeling or my recommendation is, if we're going to discuss this and talk about it, which again, I think it is good, but I would like to do it here at a regular board meeting in front of anybody who wishes to be here. And if they can't be here, if it's taped, it's available on demand, and it's available on cable for people to watch and then give their input.
So okay, my mind's 3rd, 4th, our next regular board meeting. I plan to have it on the agenda. For public discussion, come,
Wonderful.
fill the seats, grab whatever. But I agree. And hopefully we can
appreciate
resolve it. If
it. Yeah.
not, we put it to the next meeting.
I love it. Great
That's
idea.
it.
Perfect.
Okay.
So can I clarify, we already have board member ethics, so what we're doing will be revising what we already have?
Well, I don't want to, my opinion was, I don't know if those are working. So I tried to gather some stuff on all the districts that everybody mentions. I went to Michigan Associated School Board, like what's the best practice, what's out there. I just try to put in a document to at least start us. That's all that, I'm saying, if you don't like what I have and you like that, throw mine away. I'm willing to start with what we currently have. It was just information gathering.
Yeah, and that's great. And we talk about it. We work together as a board, and if we want to add things, we do. If we like with what we have, we go with it. But I think one of the things I see, I will not surprise my fellow board members at public meetings, and I think we all got surprised today. We got surprised, like Mr. Torres said, at 5 o'clock. He read his email about an addition to the agenda. I think, you had mentioned when Mrs. Barghahn said, so I mean, I think right there is a perfect example of
John's random thoughts when I'm typing. That's exactly,
Yes,
I agree.
exactly. So I think it's good.
I'm not blaming. I'm saying, I'm looking at myself too. I'm trying to look at myself too.
No, that's perfect.
So. Any other comments? We'll move to F, which is the bullying task force. At our meeting at Pierce about bullying, we decided, or we had indicated that there would be, the school district would be developing an anti-bullying task force. So clearly most of our staff and students are gone for a week, so I mean, we don't have anything locked in yet, but the task force has been assembled, and it's going to meet for the first time next week. It's going to represent many stakeholder groups, including students, parents, recess supervisors, school social workers. I believe member Torres and Piggott have been asked by Dr. Wunderlich to represent the board.
Yep.
So there'll be board members as a representative on that task force, building administrators, teachers, transportation, the courts, superintendent, and anti-bullying experts from local Oakland schools. And the plans are for the first meeting include, let's review the concerns brought up by the parents and students at there was a community meeting and the school district meeting. Let's review how we currently are handling bullying in the Waterford School District. Let's hear about best practice in anti-bullying techniques. Let's compare student-parent concerns with our techniques and identify any areas of improvement. Start a draft of our plan for fighting bullying and develop a first step that we can immediately implement. They will just, obviously from there, they'll discuss a schedule of the meetings. So people who want to attend can attend. Hopefully they can be monthly. Perhaps it might be at school level or other specific work groups might be formed to implement anti-bullying techniques and practices. So it's open for comments on the bullying task force. Mary?
Well, John, did you want to go? Because you were...
Yeah, I can make a comment.
Right.
So I think Board Member Piggott and I have probably been more involved in why we've been asked to be on the task force, as far as just really working with the superintendent and members in the community about putting together this task force. There actually are a number of people who are going to be on the task force who are here tonight. And I think that what we're really looking to do is to look at the issue that has affected us over the past month, or even before that, but really came to light over the past month, and how we can address it in a systematic way. What kind of changes can we make? What are some of the best practices we can do? What is going on in other school districts? And are there social, emotional needs that need to be met with our kids? Are there communication issues that need to be happening within our buildings, to administration, and to the board? So our goal is that, you know, we're not going to say that we can eradicate bullying, but I think what we can do is we can start to work towards, we've identified the problem, but to work towards solving this problem. I'm really excited about the work. I'm excited about the effort that our administration and the board is looking to put into it. I'm really excited about the specialist that we have coming from Oakland schools, who is a leader in this bullying, anti-bullying movement, and also well-versed with a PhD for that matter. And I've had the opportunity to speak with her. I know our superintendent has had the opportunity to speak with her. So we're making some moves here, and I know a lot of people in the community, they are asking, what are we doing? And we're trying to meet those needs here. But if anybody has input or wants to talk to us about the task force, wants updates outside of what we will be providing, you can know that you could always reach out to at least Board Member Piggott and myself to get that information, because we will be the board representatives. But the board will also be getting regular information and be versed on what is occurring with our task force.
Great. I just caution the word more involvement. I had a conversation with Keith, said I'm willing to go to every meeting or no meeting as a board president. I think there are two representatives. There's not a need for me. So the fact that you guys are on the committee, I don't want to reflect on any other board members' concern or care that they're less involved in anti-bullying. My question to Keith was, who's the focal point? Because I think I have information that's important that goes to that committee, and Dr. Wunderlich is clearly the contact. I would encourage everybody to go through Dr. Wunderlich and his office. Curly, if you're not getting what you want, you guys are always available. We're all available. But I would direct, instead of saying go to you or go to you or go to me or go to Dr. Wunderlich, that people get the message that he's the focal point. He's responsible for this committee. The board will hold him accountable for this committee, and that's where the information go. Any other comments about?
I'll just weigh in real quick. You know, I think it's certainly a start, and we heard from a lot of people at those meetings. There were a lot of tears, there were a lot of upset people, and we heard a lot of stories that was upsetting to everybody. So, you know, we are working at it. There is a wide group of people that's a part of this task force. It's not just made up of one demographic, if you will. You know, like Mr. Torres said, board members, superintendent, principals, social workers, students, parents, experts from Oakland schools. It's a start that we're trying to do everything we can to fix this, prevent as much of it as we can. And so, you know, we heard loud and clear, and I think we jumped right on it. It's certainly not something you want to just throw into right the next day. You want to make sure it's going to work, and it's, you know, everything, it's going to have substance, and it's going to be what's needed at least to start. And that's what our goal is. And, you know, it's not perfect. I mean, this district, I mean, there's things we have to get better on, and I think we heard some situations that we have to improve, and our goal is we're going to do that because we heard from the community, we listened, and we're taking action. And, you know, I see one of our student members out here now, and, you know, I love the fact that we're going to have some kids on this task force. They're right there in the heart of the schools, and we got some smart kids that sometimes, you know, bring us adults kind of into the light or whatever and make us see things. So I think it's going to be a great thing, and we're going to hit this hard, and there's a lot of good people involved, and we will do our best to do everything we can to help prevent as much of this bullying problem as we can. So I look forward to being a part of that. Thanks.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to have a discussion so we can share ideas about it. I commend everyone that's on that task force. I had some questions, and I don't know if someone can answer with me. That the people that were chosen, I commend them for doing that and giving their time to that. But I would also say that any time I've been on successful committees in the past, we outreached a lot farther than just the committee. The committees are the workhorses and the people that get the job done and do the organization. But I'm surveying with SurveyMonkey and all the things that are so easy to do, surveying students, surveying teachers, which I've asked before, about behavior concerns or solutions. You could get a solution in somewhere you didn't expect. So I would hope that the committee, beyond experts and people at Oakland Schools, also looks just into surveying way beyond the committee and actually hearing lots of ideas like that. And with technology, that's so easy to do. I'm wondering at this point, you know, what kind of meetings have happened already with the principals? Are they weighing in on this as well? Have you had a group meeting with the principals about this?
I have not had that meeting yet. We came back from break just last week, and I was trying to get the membership of the task group in a date. I was actually hoping to meet with this week with the task force, but we are still working on some names for that. So that's for next week. But we have principal representatives on that committee from elementary, middle school, and high school, one from each level, so that they're represented, and they will be the spokespeople to take that information back to their particular levels of principals. Yeah, yes, I would assume that would be part of the principals' dialogue as well. I'm hoping that what this does is really, and I'll speak to it more in my comments, but I'm looking at this being a culture changer, and the way to do that isn't just to have a once-a-month committee. This has got to be a regular discussion at all levels with kids, with administrators, with parents, all the way through. So I'm extremely hopeful that the task force will help us put some of those things together. I do see it kind of like you, that the task force is maybe an overseer, but I think there should be individual things either happening by level or even at individual buildings. We heard some great comments from students at the board meeting where we solicited those comments. We had some great ideas where students came up and suggested some terrific things that we should be able to help implement as a task force, and if it works one place, I would like to see some consistency across the district. And I think one of our problems has been inconsistency of implementation of our various procedures to fight bullying.
I was going to ask that. What has been the message from you to the staff, to the administrators or teaching staff, excuse me, from now until the task force and their ideas get up and running? What's your message?
Again, I'm hoping, I want something out of that very first task force meeting. I want something tangible immediately. I think we need to prove to the community that we're on this. So it may not be, a whole new implementation of training for staff right off the bat, but I want to see something immediate. And whether or not that's just a review of the things that we have, I don't know what the task force will come up with, but I do want that. I don't want that to be, a dictate from me. We're empowering this task force to help lead the school district, so I want that to come from the task force. And I want this is going to be a work group. I want it to come out of that first meeting. I don't want to just sit around and talk. I want to get something done.
Well, you had mentioned in your letter to the community that you met with principals. I inferred from your letter you were meeting with the principals, but I guess you just met with a few.
Met with individual principals
Yeah.
that were most mentioned in some of the comments.
What was your message? What was their message? What are their feelings about? Are they?
Again,
What was your message?
I think it's inconsistent, and I think it has, I can't get into any specifics about specific cases, but, to me, what I got out of the conversations with them is, number one, I think we need more tools. I think that there are, sometimes when we're not using the tools that are available to us. I think social work help in our buildings, may not be at the level where it could be and should be in order to help with some of the issues that we're having. And we try to do the best that we can. But I think that's, I think that the task force is going to suggest some things that we're going to need to come back to the board for and have some serious discussions because there are going to be some budgetary items that are involved with this as well.
And I would assume, I don't know if this would be even a task force. I mean, I'm sure they would recommend this, but I think this would fall on you, Superintendent, is to a process for review, and you talked about that. And I think that's going to be key, is like keeping this alive, keeping it relevant. And so hopefully when it's all getting decided, that's something. How is it going to be reviewed? Whether it involves the board, where it's some type of incident report. I mean, getting surprised as a board, by these things is not what we want. So maybe we change our dialogue with you about these situations. I'm not sure. So it's something for us as a board, I think, to think about as well. Like what's our knowledge base in this?
Any other comments? Clearly you have a big task. Clearly want something, I'll put the term fast. We don't want a shotgun attack. We don't want a Band-Aid attack. We want, as I've been hearing for the last several weeks, we want to hear all 3 and 4 sides of every version of stories we're hearing so that we have a rational approach to going on. And I trust the committee will produce good things. So thank you. So with that, we move to audience comments on action items. I don't have any cards on action items, I don't think. Anyone like to address the board on any action item? That's going to be non-action item. That's the next, that's farther down the agenda. And there was one that just said kids, so that's pretty generic if that person thinks it was an agenda item. With that, we move to the approval of the minutes. Mr. Piggott.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the minutes of the March 15th, 2018 regular meeting and the March 28th, 2018 special meeting. I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Accounts payable, Mrs. Sutherland.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the check and electronic funds transfer register for the month of March 2017-18 as listed on pages 1 through 190 and Fifth Third account statement, pages 1 through 4. These invoices have been processed by accounts payable and purchasing per requisitions submitted by various departments. All are within the prescribed budget allocation. I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Opposed, motion passes 6-0.
The Board of Education is in receipt of the statement of revenues and expenditures for the 9 months ending March 2018.
Thank you. New business, superintendent's recommendations, Mr. Piggott.
Superintendent's recommendation 84-17-18, retirements, resignations, leave of absence, expirations. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the resignations and retirements as presented. I so move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any comments or questions? Torres?
I do believe it had indicated on there we were losing a social worker, is that correct? What item? Let me just try it here. I lost my place, yeah. Yes, recommended Board of Education accept the following resignation of a social worker. So I was just wondering, are we moving forward with the process? Because I know that is something that we actually have a pretty strong need for right now in light of all of the things that have been occurring over the past month.
So the concern is that we're filling the spot as
Replacing.
soon as possible?
As
Yes,
soon as
yes,
possible.
actually, yes, we posted the position right away, and I'm not sure if Ms. Milestan has a candidate yet or not, but she's in the process of searching.
This is a position at Kingsley Montgomery Center, which is in our day treatment program. We have a number of other social workers there. This person won't be leaving until May, until we fill the position. It was posted, and we worked with the district that this individual will be going to not release her until we had somebody in place.
So not until May.
May 11th.
Oh, by May. I think
By-
it's stay
by
till
May.
May.
Yeah, this-
Oh, by May, okay.
Yeah, she won't be leaving us until the
Okay.
position is full.
All right.
So, okay. Thank you.
And then for Ms. McLeod, why is it that this is brought to the board for approval? Because it's in our bylaws and policies that you have to bring certified staff
Yes.
to let us know that they're hiring them or resigning.
Correct.
They're resigning. Okay. So this is for our professional staff, but the same exact wording in our policies is for the classified and support staff, regardless if they have a contract or not. So why don't they get brought to the board for approval?
Well, at this time, I have not been given the directive.
Okay, so by the superintendent, you haven't been
Or
correct?
by the Board of Education.
Correct.
Okay, so you're getting directed to not follow our policies? You're
No.
being told not to bring?
No, no one's telling me not
Okay,
to do it.
but you're not bringing- you're
I'm
not-
just doing the
yeah.
past, what we've done in the past, and it's always been certified staff, our teaching staff, WEA, and administrative. No one has come to me. I know it's been talked about several times, but no one has given me the specific instruction to go ahead and present this information to the board.
Okay, so even though it's in our policy, so individuals can, I'm really, really surprised that that you haven't been given the directive to do that yet.
Anything else?
Nope.
We didn't vote, did we?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm going to vote no until,
Motion passes 5-1.
do I get to say why?
But when next comments, when you can say during comments, but that vote has already been taken.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Superintendent's recommendation 85-17-18, teaching contract changes and appointments. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the teaching contract changes and appointments for the 2017-2018 school year as presented. I so move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any comments?
I have the same one, that this is...
Easy on Ms. McLeod, because she's only found board direction. So, that's only my request is,
I-
you can ask the question, I just
Okay,
appreciate.
so this process needs to be done for all staff, because you clearly do keep track of all this. as a HR, you have to keep track of all the hirings. So I hope that it was that within the HR department, so it needs to be brought to the board as our policies dictate. Otherwise, we're just clearly violating them. So therefore, when the vote comes up, I will be voting no until all hires are clearly included as our policy dictates.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Revised budget.
Wait.
Mrs. Sutherland.
I opposed it.
It's 5-1, sorry.
Okay, 5-1.
You said zero.
5-0.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Megan had it though.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Megan, 5-1.
Yes, resolved that the resolution shall be the general appropriations, Waterford School District for fiscal year 2017-18, a resolution to make appropriations and to provide for the expenditure of the appropriations and to provide for the disposition of all income received by Waterford School District. The property tax rate will be 18 mills on non-homestead property. The proceeds will be used to pay general fund operating expenses. Be it further resolved that $101,900,360 is hereby appropriated in the general fund. Be it further resolved that $8,766,585 is hereby appropriated in the school service fund. Be it further resolved that $6,384,941 is hereby appropriated in the Special Education Center Program Fund. Be it further resolved that $15,835,044 is hereby appropriated in the Debt Retirement Fund. The appropriation details of this information item are available to the public upon request.
I have questions.
Do you move?
And I so move. I'm sorry for that, yes.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any comments? Mary?
I have questions, yes. So looking at the sheets, looking at the fund balance, which you know I'm very interested in, it looks like we are going to be increasing our fund balance from $4,993,000 to $5,112,000, which is approximately $120,000. Is that am I reading that correctly? Okay. How confident are you that we're still going to be meeting that?
Very confident.
Okay. And I emailed you about the lawyer fees and telling you I was going to ask you about that because in our last review of our budget last week is an information I asked about lawyer fees. We had so at the last meeting no one can answer my questions about them. And so I did FOIA the information. I did so because I was shocked and disturbed about the lack of answers about a $95,000 overage. Our fund balance is only increasing by $120,000, and we have a $95,000 overage, and I mean that's huge money for us at this moment. And it's only mid-year that was there. So if it carries on and doubles, our fund balance would be wiped out. So through the FOIA, I learned that we've spent a lot of money on lawyers over the years. In 2015, we spent $225,000 and more. In 2016, $171,000. In 2017, $217,000. In 2018, which isn't over yet, 215,000. So we're in the 200,000s for lawyers for 4 years. And now I am in support of lawyers. I know last week people were telling me that. Of course, I'm in support of having lawyers for the district. I understand there are lawsuits and that we need to protect the district. I'm not opposed to the lawyers. But what I learned in the FOIA is that we budgeted $60,000 for lawyers. And I don't understand, I guess my question here is that it just seems out of whack when for the last 4 years we've spent over $210,000 every year. Like, I'm not sure why we would only budget $60,000.
Well, in the budget itself, what the board approves for the actual budget is more of a broader-based, not a specific legal line item. You for general administration, where this is where the board and the executive office's budgets are in grand totals, what you approve. And so there's other areas that we were under budget. But we need to keep in mind the information that you have for all the legal fees, they also include bond issuances. In some cases, when we issued the $50 million bond, there's obviously legal fees in there, so that equated to over $40,000. Also, additionally, there's training involved in that seclusion and restraint, student discipline training. As I said, the bond, we've had property matters. When we go to sell a piece of property, we also, incur legal fees to do that. We've had negotiations, of course, and in recent years, we've had a major case that this board is fully aware of. It basically pitted the district in the middle of two different parties over a FOIA request, which then ended up in the courts where we had to rely on the court and a judge to rule where we were going to give a document or not give a document. And so we had to be very careful of that, and the board's fully aware of that situation. But probably more importantly, in the last few years, the law has changed statewide. So when you dismiss a teacher or you lay off a teacher, they had remedies to go through, whether it was the different agencies in the state all the way up to the tenure commission. Those remedies, much of those remedies are now gone, and they take court action as the only remedy they have. And with that situation, we need to boost our legal fees because obviously we need to defend ourselves in those types of cases.
Right. Like I'm not disagreeing with needing to spend the money, but I don't understand why we budgeted $60,000 when we have a pattern of over $200,000 for the past 4 years.
Well, Mayor, you make a very good point. And when we reviewed the budget and the lines that need to be changed, especially after having the actual results of last year, we need an adjustment here, and that's why we brought it to the board to make that adjustment.
Why you brought what to the board? I'm sorry?
The budget itself, the revised budget, to make those adjustments so that we can increase that line item.
You're already going to increase it? Or is it
No,
because of what?
I've recommended it for the board tonight to approve the revised budget, and that $95,000 is part of that recommendation.
Okay. So you're increasing the line item from $60,000 to?
$155,000.
Okay. Why would that be if it's been over 210?
As of right now, we're trending lower. Right now, as we are, as of today, we're trending lower than the 155. And in many cases, I think you're looking at, again, you're looking at a grand total from a request that you had made. Within that total is not necessarily in this line item of $60,000. Again, such as the bond in that total, there was Clark Hill fees, for example, of $40,000 for issuing a $50 million bond. That's in your total, but that's charged to the Capital Projects Fund because it's a legal fee in regards to the issuance of those bonds. So that $200,000 that you're looking at doesn't necessarily equate to this line item. It was elsewhere in another capital. It is in the capital projects line.
Okay, and I had asked who kept track of the lawsuits in the district and monitors lawyer fees, and the answer back was that kind of no one really does. That the FOIA answer back was the superintendent designates authority to central staff administration to work with legal counsel on district matters as appropriate. As such, there's not one specific person assigned to monitor all pending lawsuits or interactions with legal counsel. However, invoices and legal firms are reviewed and approved by the superintendent. So, yeah, that was just really surprising to me, and I hope that we change a practice that someone does monitor it. Especially that not realizing it until I ask questions, and now we're increasing the budget. I mean, someone should be monitoring. I just can't, especially with $200,000 each time. Just seems like that would be someone's task to monitor that. You agree or disagree?
You know what, my responsibility is on the budget to make sure that we're staying in line with the budget, whether there's legal fees and so forth. I'm not responsible for the legal department.
Pay the bills, and maybe you could send the bill to, I don't know, maybe it does go to Keith and and it's his opportunity to monitor it, I don't know. I have a question. Would you offer a settlement without running it by the board? Is that part of Blue Book money, or is it, like, if there was a settlement, like, how would it get paid? Would it have to come to the board that we would vote on it?
It depends on the situation. If it's within budget constraints that the board has already authorized, it depends on the situation. I can't answer that without knowing what type of situation there would be.
And the budget constraints are, what is the constraint that you're referring to?
If your budget has the amount of money to pay for it.
Okay, so you're saying if it's in the money, you might have a lawsuit, settle it, and we wouldn't know about it?
No, Dr. Wunderlich keeps the board informed about the lawsuits, and you're aware of the cases that are out there. But if we settle it, a lot of times it's within our insurance policy, because many of these lawsuits are in regards to for them to basically to determine if we're going to settle the case or not, and if they're going to be willing to pay for it.
And I'm a new board member. Well, not really. I've been on here a year and a half now, and I was not aware of some of these lawsuits. So I'm going to refer later for...
Careful before you...
I'm not going to say anything.
Thank
But
you.
I wasn't aware of them, but I was actually called by citizens who told me, who identified themselves as being knowing people or being the person who were very upset listening to the meeting last time and shocked that no one referenced their case. So there's a breakdown with communication with us about this, and I'm going to be suggesting that become part of your FYI to us, that keeping us, when you write us every week, and these types of things should be in there, so we're not, so we're kept abreast of that. So.
Any other questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
For Mr. Holbrook. Okay. Okay. So for Blue Book, we have $7 million in Blue Book expenditures. This is money.
I don't know. I don't agree with the $7 million. I
You gave
know
me-
that it is more money, that you've been concerned about, but
You gave me two different lists, and they don't come before the board. And one was like 3.8. It's probably more than 7, and I'd have to look it up. But
you're referring to contracted services, and in some,
a big hunk of it has that in it. But again, we don't even know anything about how much is spent and how many subs. None of that. We don't know. So this is money that's spent at the sole discretion of the superintendent and his team, I guess, because I don't really know. The board is not informed and does not approve any of these expenditures on their regular board meetings. So can you explain to people what Blue Book means, since it's just a Waterford term?
I have a PowerPoint on the website. If you want to look up under the board section of the website, it's a Blue Book PowerPoint. Has all of the Blue Books there. Has a full documentation of the positions, the FTEs. What they are is they were derived from a group who there was I believe over I want to say maybe 400 or 500 people who unionized, and the Blue Books are the remaining piece that did not unionize. So when the WFSP union got created, there was a group of people that did not fall into that union group. And so we refer to them as Blue Books, and it's kind of it's a simple term because they were all listed in a blue book binder. That's how we created the term. On the website, you can find what positions there are. There's an instruction-related classroom support. There's 47 and a half. Many of these positions, or over half of those positions, are just the preschool programming alone. It's Head Start, GSRP, and tuition-based. Others are for federal programs like Michigan Works. There's 8. There's some district-wide support, such as video production coordinator, central enrollment, pupil accounting coordinator. But many of them are information technology technicians. These people did not fit into what would be the WFSP union group when they formed. We total up to 77 and a half of them, as I presented back in, I presented this to the board back in December, I believe. Yeah, December 7th. This was presented to the board. I gave the board a full detailed, even more detail than what was presented. The board is fully aware of what the blue books are. I indicated in that I gave the board not only what these positions were, but I also went through this binder that you have, color coordinated it, pointed to each line, and referenced each line of where those blue books were.
Okay, so how can it occur when it's clearly in board policy that all hires come in front of us that it's not happening? How can that be?
You have asked, you've referenced board policy, and the board policy in many sections gives more broad delegated authority to the superintendent. For example, we would need, if the board, let's give a perfect example here, and not to be pointing fingers to, turnover in employees, but, for every 18-year-old lifeguard that turns over, if we had to wait for the board to approve a position, and then we'd have to shut the pools down. So there's authorities and there's delegated authorities for the hiring of these positions.
Can I say something though? We don't do that with teachers. You hire teachers and they start work and then we approve them. So no one's suggesting.
I'm going to caution both of you guys that this doesn't need to be a Bill versus Mary.
I'm asking questions.
Let me talk, please. These are board policies. Staff are following the board or board practice, whatever you want to call it. If the board wants to change that practice, then we'll direct the superintendent, who will direct the staff. But it's not fair that staff try to defend board practice or policies. And so I'm just concerned that you're getting frustrated with Bill and Bill's getting frustrated with you, and I think we're getting anywhere.
Okay, did we?
When you made your point that it's a board practice that you don't think we're following.
That we're not following. Okay, so I have other questions then. When our budget is so closely monitored in all the other areas, and how is it that funds are sitting unassigned that we can give raises and promotions to people without board consent? Like, where is money coming from when our budget is so tight, and like what you're showing us today, it's like to the dollar, to the cent, and then we hear, okay, there was a raise and someone got a promotion, and I just think, where does that come from? How does that happen?
I don't know how you can answer it, Bill.
On a budgetary point of view.
I appreciate that. When you look at for the instruction, all the teachers and so forth, okay, they have a contract, and in that contract, you can multiply out the number of people making X amount of dollars, and you can come up where it is. In my departments, for example, it's a little more difficult. We don't know where a boiler is going to break, when a boiler is going to break down, and where we're going to have to come up with money. But we've been putting money into capital improvements in this district and trying to put them in the right spots so that we can limit the impact on the general fund. I know that in many times we wanted to see this done with capital projects, but by instead of doing X, we're doing Y. What has happened is we've been able to save money buying 22 buses, for example. You start to drive down the repairs and maintenance budgets and so forth to make the bottom line as best as possible for the future of this district. And that is how, over the last 4 years, we've gone from a $1 million fund balance. And I'll add this. You asked me just a few minutes ago if I thought the budget was good, where we were at 5.1 million. I don't anticipate, as of, April 19th, I don't anticipate right now that we will be using the $500,000 that we have as a contingency fund. So we'll probably end at 5.6. So we've gone from a $1 million fund balance to 5.6 million in a very, very short period of time. So where we're putting our money and saving dollars and so forth has freed up other areas within our own budgets to make changes where necessary. And yes, we continue to add to the bottom line in addition to shoring up some things and positions throughout the district.
I don't think that actually answered my question about just where would it come from? Is there?
Well, and I'm not sure you can answer it because I'm really going to discourage you from giving a specific example with a specific name and saying what raise did they get in this
I'm
situation.
not asking for how much they got.
And I'm not,
just
then, without that
wondering.
information, I'm not sure how it's, that
Okay.
Mr. Holbrook can
Are
answer
any,
that
are
question.
any, I don't know anything about this Blue Book money, so I'm asking about it. It just seems like there's money there that where raises and things can get done, and we don't know about it, and it bothers me.
You
Are
have
there,
been at 2 board presentations that I was at on Blue Book, so yours, whereas the rest of us, what Blue Book is about.
is this procedure where I'm asking him questions and you can just interrupt me? Is that following procedure? What would be the occasion, are stipends given from this money? Is it able to be given, the Blue Book money, stipends to people, or is that in a different category? I guess I just don't understand what it is, like why it wouldn't come in front of us. You look confused, so you just say no, that there's no stipends given from it?
I think
Because
he's
there-
trying to say, I don't know.
Stipends in reference to?
I don't know, if, I don't know. I was shocked when at mid-year someone got a raise, and it wasn't on our radar as a board. So,
That was a year ago, Mary, and was on our radar because the reason you know about it is because the
Okay, is
superintendent met with each one of us and we've talked about it for a year. It is in fact. It is in fact. This is our opportunity as a board to share comments.
but I'm still talking with Mr.
But it's not
Holbrook.
his question to answer. You're asking questions
in
that are,
charge
it's
of
board
the
policy.
Blue Book.
It is board policy that you're questioning, so question your board. We are one board. You cannot give directives as one person.
I'm not giving directives, I'm asking questions.
But they're questions you've been asking for a solid year now.
And I haven't gotten
The
answers
answer that you wanted. You're not getting the answer you wanted.
So you don't, I have concerns about this still. I don't think that we're following policy. I've talked to other board members and other boards and asked about a fund, like any funds that would go through where it wouldn't be accounted for, and they all look at me like I have 3 heads. Like, why would you do that? I think that we need to be knowing what this money is in a more detailed way, like as a process, as we go through. And the turnover rate is not going to stop anyone getting hired. It will actually inform us of a turnover rate, and maybe we would be aware of a problem that we didn't know about. Okay, so when we go to vote on this, I'm going to vote no, because I still don't believe that we're following budget policy and being completely clear with how that money's spent.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
With regard to the attorney fees, you had indicated that there was an increase up to $155,000, correct?
Correct.
Correct, okay. And in previous years, would you say that that is accurate, what was stated, that the amounts that we've spent in past years, I'm seeing here 2015, $225,000, 2016, $171,000, 2017, $217,000? Does that sound accurate to you?
Yes.
Okay.
But I would like to point out the fact that the document that you're looking at is all legal fees throughout the district. Again, I'd like to point out that when we sold the $50 million in bonds, there was a $40,000 legal fee. So in that total that you're showing, that you're asking
Correct,
about,
that I'm asking about.
that total, you have to reduce legal fees that belong to situations like that, because you're comparing it against one line item that sits in the Board of Education's budget. You're not comparing apples to apples.
So $155,000 you feel, based off what you've looked at, that would be sufficient?
Yes.
All right.
Any other questions? I don't know if you have this, Bill, fund equity percentage from
Yeah.
original to revised. Do you know the percentage change? I mean, was it 5 to 5.5 or 4 to 5.5?
Well, you know, it's a 4.5, and that's a good point. I mean, when we did the original budget, we were expecting to end this year with the starting balance to be $4.5 million. It wasn't. It was we had $528,000 in better results from the prior year. So we were able to increase our fund balance for the revised budget by, bringing us up to speed with our actual results from last year. So we came in $500,000 better than expected. So we went from 4.5% to 5%.
I only ask that because I'm pretty sure I approved budgets that were much larger than our 102. We're probably 110, 120. So you guys look at the percentage of fund equity. You can't just take the raw number and say, is it good or bad, because it's a percentage of our budget.
Yeah, and you know what, when you talk about percentages and you say, all right, I want to have a 5% fund balance, it's getting increasingly more difficult to do that when you're receiving $7 million in just pension funds from the state that's just strictly a pass-through. So they're basically increasing your cost. They're giving you the revenues, but when you say, hey, I want a 5% fund balance, well, I got to come up with another $350,000 to counter that to say that we have a 5% fund balance.
Thank you. Thanks. So when this board approves a budget, we give it to Dr. Wunderlich. He puts it in your hands to supervise, correct?
Correct.
Are there then department budgets, elementary building, high school building, special education? Do they have their own separate budgets?
Yes.
Okay, if they're staying within their budget, are they necessarily have to report up that they've made a change in a line item because they have?
Yes, in fact, what they do is they make a request and say, okay, I have this situation going on here. I need more equipment, say special ed. I need more equipment for in a special ed classroom for a particular child that may have moved into the district. Say, okay, but you've met your budget line. They say, yeah, I know, but what we're going to do is we're going to reduce maybe office supplies to pay for it. And so we'll make the budgetary change in the system. The system has all the budget numbers in it so that it sends up a red flag when we do have an account that maybe go over before we actually pay it.
Great. I do appreciate your time and effort tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we move to reinstatement of a
You
student.
got to vote.
Did we
on
vote on the
Oh.
budget?
Sorry, my stomach growled there, and I'm like ready to move on.
Procedures screw up.
All in favor? Opposed? Was that a
I meant
yes?
to do opposed, sorry.
You're a no. Motion passes 5-1. I'm sorry. Reinstatement of a student. Mr. Piggott.
Superintendent's recommendation 87-17-18, reinstatement of student B. In keeping with Michigan law, a committee consisting of school board members, a school administrator, teacher, and parent of a pupil in the district reviewed a petition for the reinstatement of a student previously expelled by the Waterford School District. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the committee's recommendation to reinstate student B with conditions. I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. I just want to add that I sat on that committee with Mrs. Sutherland. We think that that student needs to be back in school. I think with conditions that person can be successful, and so that's why we're making that recommendation. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion passes 6-0. Next, we move to considerations of purchases. Mrs. Sutherland.
Yes, consideration of certain purchases, Superintendent's Recommendation 88-17-18, Contract Award, Bid Package 18-04, Transportation and Site Remodeling Improvements. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the awarding of contracts for Bid Package 18-04 per the attached summary of bids for transportation site and remodeling improvements. The total award package is $2,043,200. The funding source is the 2016 bond, Series 2, and I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Discussion items. We'll have a public.
Hey, did we miss
Wait,
one?
we have two more certain purchases. It's been a long
Okay.
meeting, Mr.
You
President.
know what? I'm out of water, so that's
Long
the
meeting,
problem.
Mr. President.
Sorry.
Okay, Superintendent's Recommendation 89-17-18, Contract Award, Bid Pack 18-05, Riverside Partial Roof Replacement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the awarding of contracts for Bid Pack 18-05, Riverside Partial Roof Replacements, to Sheena Roofing and Sheet Metal for roofing in the amount of $175,800, and Heritage Contracting EIFS, which is stucco, in the amount of $10,775. Total award package is $186,575. The funding source is again the 2016 Series 2, and I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I just have a comment, then it would be for all three of these. I'll just say it once, but again, this bill is for $186,000, and we're taking the time to approve it and look at it as a board because it is state law, and it's in our policies and bylaws as well, but it's state law. And there's a reason that laws like that are there. It's for oversight and governance, and it's not offensive that it has to be done. It doesn't mean I'm critical of Mr. Holbrook or what he does, but it's about oversight and being clean and responsible. So I'd like to see that with all of our, following our policies. But that is why we do this, and the amounts are so little here, and we're talking about a $7 million hunk before, so.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Superintendent's recommendation 90-17-18, contract award, partial roof replacement for Covert Center. It is recommended that the Board of Education award a contract for the partial roof replacements at the Covert Center to Newton Crane Roofing in the amount of $154,400. The funding source is the 2016 Bond Series 2, and I so move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Mr. Bovine, that's your job. Just keep me in line. Discussion is we'll have a public budget study sessions April 26th at Crary. Celebrations of Learning, Celebrate Hope. We'll have information on the Oakland ISD budget resolution. Information on the 2018 biennial election for Oakland Schools Board of Education. We'll take action on Teacher Appreciation Week, which is May 6th through 12th. Are there any Board of Education reports? Mr. Petrusha.
The Waterford Optimist Club, they've been around for many years, is having their annual raffle. They give away $10,000. They only sell 300 tickets. And the Optimist, their creed is for the youth. It's a pretty good program. I've been going to this party for over 40 years. It's a good time. If anyone would like to have tickets, they can contact me, either email or give me a call. My number's on the website. So,
What's the date?
May 4th. And they usually have a theme. This year is May 4th is May the Force be with you. It's a Star Wars. So yeah, I have no clue. And if anyone wants to give me an idea, I could, go for that. Jabba the Hutt, I told my wife no, so, but that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to go in order? Okay. So I started off the meeting trying to discuss the matters that were clear to the board, and I'm happy that they were important to their community, and I'm happy that bullying got on there. Disappointed the preschool program cut did not get on there, but I will make comments about it here in a moment. I heard a sigh from someone about the Blue Book employees, and I really am. I just don't understand why that's not an issue that could be so easily changed by just having the superintendent direct it. I look back to my time at Howell, and I had to go to the board for, we had this line at night called Kiss and Go, where someone would sit there for 45 minutes at dismissal. 45 minutes, 5 days a week, I had to go to the board for that. They paid attention to where every dollar went, and it was clear part of their policies. And to act like it's ridiculous that we would want to know where $7 million worth of employees are going is astonishing to me. And the part that, the comment from Ms. Sutherland, because it's not the way you want it to go, is not true. It's not following our policies. And if we're following board ethics, I should not get a comment like that. I should be able to say what I'd like to say without getting a negative comment from a fellow board member. So tonight, I mean, it's clear, all employees are to come before the board, and the reason of it's a long-standing practice does not fly. It doesn't matter. It's if you've been breaking a policy and you find out you have to fix it. I mean, I have no idea. None of us on this board truly know what that $7 million is. It's probably just fine. It's probably absolutely fine. But we should know, and it's a principle-based thing. Like, we should know, and the fact that I'm getting fought on that I don't understand. It matters to me. So, you know, and Keith is violating his contract. The superintendent is violating his contract when he's not enforcing and following all policies. And so I don't know why he's putting himself in that situation. He could clearly direct his staff to do that. But
I'm going to ask you, please be careful about directing it specifically at another staff person when you're talking about board decisions.
Okay. Anyway, I believe that the superintendent could fix this easily. It doesn't even, because it's the right thing to do. It doesn't need the board to do that. It would be just what a person would do. I think it's about transparency. It does matter. I think this whole back and forth and fighting this is astounding to me, that you wouldn't just go err on the side of transparency, that you wouldn't just open up, here it is, let's make the votes happen, no big deal, it goes through HR anyway. I don't understand why that's not the case. Because it's not, it bothers me. And the superintendent makes a lot of money. He makes over $250,000 in total compensation package. And hiding behind it's a long-standing practice and the board isn't giving me approval, it doesn't need to be that way. I've told the majority of the board, I've been told by the majority of this board that they're just not interested in knowing, and so therefore it doesn't need to be done. And I don't think following policy is optional, but here we are where it seems to be. I just wonder why a superintendent would take such a firm stand to not be transparent with us. It's so easily fixed, and the behavior is very troubling. With the lawyer fees, I believe we should have a regular system informing us of all lawsuits pending against us in the district and their status. It should be a regular update even though nothing has changed on it. This is our role of oversight. It is a budgetary factor, as we see now with a $95,000 overage, but it's also a pattern of behavior factor. Are these random, unrelated cases, or are they not? Multiple age discrimination cases point to deep concerns in management. This information was not shared with us with clarity. I did not know that until I got a phone call from a private citizen. I would say it has been not provided, and I don't know why that would be. Ask yourself truly, why would that not be shared? Why would these lawsuits and these costs not be shared at a regular basis with us? We're so worried about our bottom line. We're trying to build our fund balance, and this is something that we're spending money on, and I'm saying it's not a bad way to spend money, but it's obviously a lot of money, so you'd think that we just be kept dollar-wise more intact with that. Again, this does not take a majority of the board. I am asking that we start receiving these regular updates in the superintendent's weekly FYIs to the board. He doesn't have to wait for approval. He could just do it because it's the right thing. With bills in the $200,000 range, I see this as something that we should be monitoring and letting the community, I'll let the community know at the next meeting if he's starting to inform us about this. The preschool program cut and the treatment of the teacher. These last few days have been full of disappointing behavior. The board was made aware of a cut to First Families, a beloved preschool program, until we weren't even aware of it until a parent posted it on Facebook. Programming cuts are big deals, and not notifying the board was wrong.